When I was a kid, my parents, who both worked full-time jobs, had this terrible habit of hiring terrible nannies. Granted, my siblings and I were probably a very hard sell to the nannies of northern Colorado. We were loud, we were annoying, there were 5 of us, so only the weirdest nannies took the job. Carla sold lingerie out of her pickup. Helen talked about herself in the third person. And Mary Grace spent her afternoons preparing us for the rapture. But one summer, when I was about 9 years old, my parents hired someone called Mean Kathy. Her real name was not Mean Kathy, it was probably Kathy, but she was mean. She would lock us downstairs while she napped upstairs. She would force my toddler-age siblings to sit in their cold bathwater until their lips turned blue. And when we objected, she'd push us against the wall and say, "I better not hear a peep out of you." So by about midsummer, my 7-year-old brother Anson and I were fed up. We ruled out tattling. We'd used up our last complaint card a few babysitters back, and we knew our parents wouldn't listen. So Anson and I decided to deal with Mean Kathy ourselves. We planned a meeting in the sandbox, and Anson kicked off the brainstorming. "I know what we gotta do. We gotta kill her." "Anson, we can't kill her. Think of the mess. And who normally cleans up?" "Mean Kathy." "Well, we could run away at night." "Anson, we can't run away at night. What are we both afraid of?" "The night." This went on for a while, but eventually we settled on a big idea. So one afternoon, when we found Mean Kathy reading on the couch, we sauntered over and started tickling her. She giggled, didn't express concern or anything like that, so check, her guard was down. I gave Anson the first signal. He whipped off his belt, cinched it around Kathy's ankles, and squealed, "Tickle trap." Excuse me. I'm sorry. Tickle trap, thank you. So that was a really crucial moment because Mean Kathy could have ended the experiment, but she kept giggling. So I pulled a shoelace out of my pocket and I tied it around her knees. And she didn't resist that either. You know, she kept giggling, she would bat at us playfully, but she hadn't even put her People magazine down. Of course, at that point, Anson started sprouting his Joker smile, and I was worried she would notice, but she didn't say anything. So we tied her elbows too. At that point, something changed in Kathy's eyes. It wasn't concern, it wasn't fear, it was more like curiosity. Up to then, she could have untangled herself and gotten up, but she thought we were playing, and we were playing our parts. We were filling the air with this fluffy, innocent laughter, the laughter of angelic kids having good-hearted fun with their beloved caretaker. But there came a moment when I finished knotting Kathy's wrists together that something clicked. She tried to wrench one of her hands out, and when she couldn't, she abruptly stopped laughing and tried to roll toward the floor. It didn't work because we had an unspoken ally, a shitty couch. Every time she moved, she wedged herself further in the crack of my sofa. She started thrashing and shrieking, "You little bitches, this isn't fun anymore. Get me off this couch." Anson, who did not like name-calling, reacted poorly, and tied a bathrobe belt around her mouth. This is a 7-year-old child, I just want you guys to remember that. Then, I will never forget this, he crouched down with his little hands on his knees, and he looked her right into her eyes, and he said, I better not hear a peep out of you. So by the time we finished tying the last knot, Mean Kathy was channeling her rage through the only parts of her body that were still untethered, her eyeballs and her eyebrows. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm really nervous. But then, what? Oh, sorry. But then, I'm sorry. And at that point, I stood back and I remember looking at the scene that we had created and thinking, holy shit, we have tied a babysitter. I mean, a 7- and a 9-year-old had immobilized a full-grown, adult-sized Mean Kathy. We were gods. But then, from behind me, Anson said, "Now what?" And I suddenly realized we hadn't planned beyond that. We didn't think we'd get that far. But Mean Kathy was still thrashing around on the couch and belting out muffled shrieks. And we figured if we left her long enough, she could probably wiggle off the couch and roll to a phone and presumably punch in 911 with her nose. So we improvised. Anson stacked her with pillows and climbed on top. I put in a season 3 DVD of The Simpsons, we hit play all, and we enjoyed the show for 2 hours. And eventually, the fear of my parents murdering us or grounding us for life, which of course would have been worse, became too much. We took the pillows off, we untied just her wrist tie, and then we sprinted outside. We hid there until we saw my parents' car come up the driveway and Mean Kathy's car leave. We dragged ourselves back inside to face the music, but my parents were sitting in the den. My dad had poured himself a cocktail. My mom was doing a crossword. We were confused. As it turns out, Mean Kathy hadn't told them about the tie-up. Maybe she was embarrassed, or maybe she knew it would open a conversation about her nannying strategies. But Mean Kathy never came back. And my parents talked about why that might be for a long time, and for many years we played along. But I know why she didn't come back. Our plan had worked, and Mean Kathy had met her match. Thank you.